Hi, welcome. I'm so excited to have Ashley Krooks with me today. Ashley is a super inspirational human. She left her corporate job 7 years ago to start her own business, and she became a high ticket affiliate marketer. And she was doing this while traveling the world, living the digital nomad dream lifestyle. And she grew her company to six and then multiple seven figures. And now she teaches other people how to do that, how to become an entrepreneur, how to feel free internally and externally. And that's a topic we're going to touch on today. And I'd just like to welcome you. Thank you, Ashley, for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So, can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey? What got you onto it? Why did you even want to start a business?
Totally. So what really kickstarted my journey was I was working a corporate job. I'd been through multiple corporate jobs at this time, and my company had an unlimited vacation policy. So I thought I hit the jackpot. I was like, awesome, time freedom and a job. This is great. And then what ended up happening was my parents booked a trip. It was their 30th anniversary. And so it was this once in a lifetime trip for us to go to South Africa. And I asked my boss if I could go. And he waited until 2 days before the trip. And he told me that if I went on the trip, that I would be fired. And so at that moment, I knew that I could not stay at that job. I had to go on this trip. I wasn't going to choose a job that didn't value me at all over my family. And so I quit the job. I left it and ended up going on that trip and needing to figure it out after that. So that really kickstarted my journey. But I had always wanted to be able to travel the world and work from anywhere. That was my absolute dream. And so I knew that, I was like, all right, now is the time. And I was committed to finding a way. And so with that, I ended up getting started, like you said, in high ticket affiliate marketing, and had a lot of success there. Within 1 year, was able to retire my now husband from his job, and we left to go travel. We had already made six figures. Like we were like, all right, we're doing it. And so we left to go travel, and while we were traveling, what ended up happening was, so I guess I'll say first, for the last 6 years since we left, we have been traveling. We've been all over. We've gone to over 55 countries together, more in total, but since starting our business, and have literally just built a multiple seven-figure business working from everywhere, and literally living out that dream that, that I had all those years ago. And so it's been absolutely amazing. And a big part of it for me was, while we were traveling, we started our travels off in Europe. Since then, we've been all over. We literally haven't had an actual home for the last 6 years, just been bouncing around different places. But I was there and I was like, I was living my dream. I was making great money. My business was going great. I was mentoring people, really making an impact. It all was everything I wished for. But something didn't really feel quite right. Like I just kept feeling like it should feel different. I should feel better. But for some reason, I was always stressed, or, I had a lot of thoughts going in my head, and I couldn't really let the good in that I was experiencing. And so what ended up happening, I started talking to people trying to figure out what was going on. And I realized my nervous system just wasn't able to hold that. I was so wired for safety and chaos and just not regulated at all. And so I really started diving into personal growth and started figuring out, why I was the way I was and who I was underneath all this conditioning, and, and just discovering me, and who I was without the accolades and the validation and the rewards and all of that. And I've been on for the last, since 2018, I really started this, this whole personal development journey of figuring it out and really finding a way to not just have the external freedoms, but be able to feel completely free inside as well, and really create a life that feels as good as it looks. And so, it's become my absolute passion to just really create this for myself. And also, I've gotten certified in a lot of modalities along the way to really be able to help other people access that for themselves as well. Because, we all really are able to lead these absolutely amazing lives that can feel so good. But I feel like so many times throughout society, we're just told success is one way, or, just keep going, grind it out, needs to, just get things done. It doesn't matter how it feels. You could worry about it later. But there's really no, I'll be happy when, because if we don't work on that now, it's just going to be amplified whenever that when comes as well. And we'll just have to really dive deep then. So yeah, been super passionate about working on that. Oh gosh, my ring.
Wow, that's an incredible story. There's so much to unpack there. But yeah, I think that's how we connected, because my tagline is living your best life is about how you feel. Because I was exposed to a lot of people who were financially successful, but behind the scenes, they were really falling apart, or they were, had health issues, or they really didn't have any people to connect with. And my brain did not understand, like, how is that worth it? What's the point? You have all this money or this success, and these people perceive you at, look up to you. But in reality, there's all the things that matter you don't have. So I'm super passionate about, creating the merging, because then on the other hand, you have people who might, have great inner peace. They're super regulated, but they don't value, let's say, financial success. And they, let's say they have a subconscious belief that money is evil, and they don't let themselves enjoy the power and the freedom that money allows you. So I love that that's where you find yourself, at the intersect of internal and external freedom. That's so beautiful. And before we unpack it, I want to kind of dive in a little bit of what you think allowed you to make the leap and say, F this job, you don't value me, and I'm going to go travel with my family. Because I think a lot of people struggle with that. And instead of seeing the possibility and like betting on themselves, they would shrink and agree, which creates so much resentment and just really not a lot of positive things in the long run. So what do you feel that, allowed you to be such a badass and do what you wanted to do?
Yeah, totally. Well, first, I would say like corporate America definitely wasn't for me. I think I held 4 different jobs, and at every single one of them, I had either been laid off, fired, like had to leave for some reason. It was just not a place where I really thrived. I always wanted to be able to really decide what I wanted to do with my own time and not be capped on my finances and just create my own life. So I think I always kind of had that personality, but a big piece for me was like that just belief. Like I knew that I could do it if I set my mind to it. It really didn't even cross my mind that I wouldn't be able to make it happen. And, I think that's such an important thing. I see so many people that I've mentored throughout the years don't have that belief. Like that actually isn't something, that a lot of people come in with. And so I think it's just really getting clear on what that vision is. Like what do you want for your life? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to be able to just choose what you do each day? Like what is it for you? And really committing yourself to that, because I think now more than ever, 7 years ago, we didn't have too many examples of people living lives like this. Instagram wasn't even really a thing yet. And it was just very different. But now you have so much evidence that it is possible. And so if it's something, especially if you're kind of stuck into a situation where you have to make a choice like I did, just know like if so many other people can do it, like you can do it as well. And really, find what works best for you and just hold that belief in yourself, because if you don't change your life, like no one is going to change it for you.
That is very true. And what would you suggest for people who really just don't believe, and maybe they've, failed over and over again, and well, what they perceive as failure, because I don't think there's such thing as failure, but they believe like nothing good ever happens to me. There's no way, like, oh yes, these people like, oh, Ashley and, them online, like they can do it, but there's no way I can do it. So what are there any tools that you would recommend for people who just, they don't even want to try because there's just no way?
Totally. Yeah, there's so many different things that you can do with this, but I think it's just really looking at, right, what stories am I telling myself? Like we get so caught up in these stories all the time, and we hold on to them even though they're not actually serving us. So first, like just start asking yourself, like, is this really true? Or is this just the story I'm choosing to believe? And, with that, start to find evidence, like find evidence in your life. You could even create a note in your phone or something. Just find evidence in your life where things did work out. Maybe where you didn't think you were going to get the job, but you did. Or, if you went to college where you didn't know if you'd get into university, but then you did. Or just little things throughout your day, maybe even a conversation you had to have with a friend that you were nervous how it was going to go and it went well. And just start building this evidence in your mind that it is possible for you, that, you can have this belief in yourself and things will work out. And over time, as you do that, you'll start to rewire your subconscious mind to see that it actually is possible for you, and really start to shift that belief. And I think also with it is, we can have, sometimes we might not believe in certain things, like believe it's possible, but if we want it bad enough, we'll still go after it just to see. And kind of like what you said with failure, like nothing is failure. That's one of the biggest misconceptions we have in our society. It's really just getting us to that next thing, figuring out what works and what doesn't work, so we know. And so I would say with that, like allowing yourself to really, if like, get really connected to what you want your life to look like, and like allow yourself to dream, just whatever it is. You don't need to be realistic. Just let yourself go there. And then from that, just allow that vision to move you, allow it to pull you. And you might not believe it yet, but just hold that vision, and and really let that be your guiding light no matter what. And then as you start doing things, as you start taking action, you'll start building that belief as well. I think a lot of times we get stuck in, will this work? Will it not? Or whatever, because we're not actually doing anything. We're just staying stagnant and talking ourselves into all these things. But I know for myself, if I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to go do the thing, and I do it, I'm like, wow, okay, that wasn't so bad. Like I actually survived that, right?
Yeah,
So it's never as bad as we make it out to be. So I would say just really start to take those moves, and see how they, start to shape out in your own life.
for sure. And if I'd add on to that, it'd be that we as humans model behavior. That's how we learn. And just putting yourself in rooms with people who have done it before has been the biggest shift, because where I struggled the most is when I was like, oh, I'll just do it myself. Like I'll figure it out. And that's how I wasted, years of my life, being just stubborn and believing that if I can't do it myself, then it's not, worth it. But even where we connected with Shoshana's club, it's incredible to be in a community of women, female entrepreneurs. And when you see other people doing it and treating it like it's no big deal, goals that you have for yourself, it just changes something in you. And you're like lifted up to that level, which by yourself, you might never get there, or it would just take you a really long time.
So true. I love that you brought that in as well. Like without, communities like that one, or masterminds or mentorships, like there's no way I would be where I'm at. And I think so many successful people would say the same thing. And so, linking arms with people who are already doing what you want to do is such a huge factor in it. Completely agree.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the programs you run for people who want to get into kind of this lifestyle?
Yeah. So I really help people who want to build their business and brand online. So I work with a specific training platform, and we'll teach you how to build your business from scratch. So if you have no experience, if you're just like, I don't even know what I want to talk about, can really help you get started there and work with you through any blocks that you have. And I work with specific offers as well that you can affiliate for, that then you can that from there you can make different compensations as well, and really get in, like link arms, like we were just talking about, with the community. And so through that, that's really like the main offer that I have when it comes to people really wanting to build their business online. But I also have been working from anywhere for the last 6 years. So I have some programs on like how you can start to work from anywhere, if that's something that you want to do as well.
Amazing. Yeah, and we'll make sure to link those in the show notes. And I was watching before we started some of your video reviews, and it's just so inspirational to see people kind of change their lives and take that leap. And it was really great to see people come out of your program.
Love that. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, one of the best things. You can do so much to like change your own life, but really when you're able to affect others and see like the ripple effect and watch their life shift as well, and how they're able to now spend time with their kids when they wouldn't have been able to before, or be able to do van life or RV life, or pay the bills like with that they were struggling with, whatever it is. Like it's just one of the best things to be able to truly support others in that.
Yeah, and one of my favorite posts of yours is, it started with, I got scammed. Where you talk about how you signed up for a program that taught you how to start your business and really created this life of your dreams. And I think this is kind of points to that you have to be a little bit delusional. You have to be a little bit naive, even, to just allow yourself to have that kind of, to let go of cynicism and criticism, because that's such an easy thing to do. That's what most of society does. It's just like, oh, it's a scam. Oh, there's no way. But it's real people who have actually done it. So I loved how you flipped that on its head and and had the post, I got scammed, and I got to create my dream life. So that was just genius.
Yeah, I love that one. And I think, what you said is so true, because, so much of our society, we just for whatever, like we're kind of conditioned into these certain ways of living. And then with that, we just believe it blindly. And if we learn about something that's out of the box or like the ordinary, even though it might be good for us, even though it's that person looks like they're living the life we want to lead, we think, oh, there's no way that that could work. They're like too good to be true. It's such a scam. And then that just keeps us stuck. And so, yeah, being able to actually, open your mind to see if oh, wow, if this person's doing it, they're successful, then let me just see if I could do this. Maybe there is something to this, can really make such a big difference in so many areas of life. Being willing to go outside the box can really lead to such great rewards.
Yeah. And like, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, we spend money on such silly, ridiculous things, but for some reason, when it comes to self-improvement and education, that's not from like an accredited institution, people get, and myself included, we get so like tentative and scared. And not to say that there aren't, bad programs out there, for sure there are, but I think this kind of work and coaching and learning from people who have done it before, I mean, is just invaluable. And then I'd love to hear a little bit more about, your philosophy on inner freedom. So what made you when was the point where you realized, wow, I have all these things, I have everything that I wanted, but it's just not it, and kind of how you transitioned into the inner work and learning how to, regulate your nervous system and really learn how to be intimate with yourself?
Yeah. So back in 2018, kind of like I shared earlier, we had left to go travel, and we were doing this amazing trip. We were doing 4 months in Europe, traveling all around, and everything, like I said, was going absolutely amazing. But I didn't feel that way, and I just kept feeling like, why can't I enjoy this? Why am I not like? Why am I judging myself for all these things, or why am I so stressed all the time? And I just didn't get it. And I'm not the type of person that's just going to allow that to be the case and just be like, oh, this is me, or this is, how things are. And so I started to really start looking in and seeing, okay, what is this? Like, how can I shift it? How can I figure this out? Why is this happening? And, one of the first initial really big shifts that I had is actually in November of that year, I went to Tony Robbins event. And, my whole life I had just told myself, like, I'm not as excited as other people. I just don't get as excited, as animated as them. That's just who I am. And it was Unleash the Power Within. And through that event, just being there, being around these people, like if you've ever gone to a Tony Robbins event, I don't know if you, but like they're screaming and jumping and like this energy, it's unreal. It actually being immersed in an environment like that, that's one of the best ways to change your state. And so that actually literally shifted my baseline for excitement and enjoyment of life forever. It literally shifted how I was. And so being able to see that, being able to see how powerful that was, I was hooked. And I just started diving into so many different modalities and really different ways to understand myself and to really navigate that inner freedom so I could just keep feeling better. And, we throughout life get so many different we kind of create these armorings or things that trigger us by different experiences and situations that we had. And so I really started to look at all of those different pieces and really start to unravel like everything that I thought I was to actually become who I truly am, and diving deep into like all different modalities to see some of the biggest ones that I've worked with that I now facilitate and am a practitioner of because I love them so much is, breath work was so huge for me. Somatics is a really big one. So getting into the body, we hold so much information there. And parts work were 3 really big ones for me that I dove into amongst a slew of other modalities as well. But yeah, to really find that inner freedom and to just really be able to like connect with myself, understand who I am, love myself, and yeah, be able to actually feel free. People used to ask me like what my goals were, and I didn't even have any at that point. Like I was like, I'm already living the life I wanted to lead. It was just like, I wanted inner peace. Like I want happiness. And it was just really going on a quest for that.
That's so beautiful. And I feel like now, self-love is such an cliched word, a t-shirt word, but it really is the baseline of everything, because if you don't respect and love yourself, there's no way you can accept good things to come into your life, from relationships to money to health to anything. And I think the root of all unhappiness is just not accepting ourselves as we are and being critical of ourselves. So even though it's such a simple word, I think it's the basis of all personal development.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think to add to that too, our external reality is a complete reflection of our internal reality. And so if you're abandoning yourself, you don't have respect for yourself, you're not loving yourself, then that's going to get mirrored by your entire reality, by all these people that you're interacting with, by everything outside of yourself. And so it's really amazing once we start to do the inner work and start to really shift how we see ourselves and how we show up for ourselves, everything else changes.
For sure. And I feel like money is such an easy scapegoat for people to
Mhm.
blame everything on. They're like, "Oh, once I get this money, I'm good." Like, and and it's because I don't make money, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's just for all that inner pain that we don't deal with, money is a really easy like band-aid because I don't know, we see people who are wealthy and we're like, "Oh, they don't suffer, like they're amazing,
Right.
they're good." And it's actually the opposite. I think once you like release that pain, then money becomes this fun thing that can only like enhance your lifestyle. But we really need very little. Let's say $5,000 a month, to live
Mhm.
well. And when you
Totally.
have that like gratitude mindset and you're just really appreciative of everything and you're able to be joyful, then anything past that is like, wow, incredible. But you're completely content even with, let's say, a regular salary and not some crazy entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think with that too, with the money piece, it's like it doesn't take any money to, you can find a book, right, in your library or something. You just start working on yourself and growing, who you are. There's a million and one videos on YouTube that you could watch to learn more about, different mindset tools or any modality that you want. You can listen to so many different things to help really rewire your mind. And we talked about earlier, like who you surround yourself with. Well, if you can't get yourself in the room, you can get yourself to different YouTube channels that talk about all of the stuff that we're talking about here to, really start to really show you what's possible for yourself and help you on your personal growth journey. So there really is like, anybody can do this for sure.
Yeah. And I feel like it all kind of what we started with. It all starts with belief.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true.
And one of the biggest limiting kind of blocks that I find towards people going from zero and starting something is buying into the misunderstanding that people that they look up to never started from scratch. That they were
Mhm.
always the way they are. Like, let's say Tony Robbins or whoever you look up to online. And I think it's also kind of a little bit a fault of those people because no one wants not a lot of people are willing to be vulnerable and like
Mhm.
present where they started and the days they were crying and being depressed and like had no money. People like to kind of present a polished version of being on Forbes and being on TED. And so then
Mhm.
and then people who just want to start, they're like, well, I'm not going to be on TED tomorrow, so what's the
Yeah.
point?
Totally get that.
So, and you already, you shared a little bit about how you got started, but maybe if you could tell us like what were some of the turning points, maybe some programs you took or books you read or yeah, things that really turned it around for you from being, disempowered to empowered in how you are today.
Yeah, I think there were like so many things throughout my journey. I'm a really, really big proponent of investing myself and consistently growing. I think, I will say like I think one thing is just recognizing too that even though I have created this, amazing life, right? I still struggle so much, and there's so many doubts and things that come up and insecurities and things to work through. And I think the biggest thing is that instead of shying away from it or saying, oh, it's just stuck this way or I'm this way or, life is this way, I lean in and I see like, okay, how can I work through this? What why is this occurring for me? How can I find like that empowered perspective to really see this as a way for, oh, this is coming up because this is an area of growth and grow in it. And so I think like that's a really big piece. And I think anyone just starting out, it's just take it, look at, you don't need to go from 0 to, 350 right away. Just take it day by day and just look, just work with where you're at, and understand like we all have limiting beliefs that come up. We all have doubts and from there, just like kind of link arms with them and with those doubts and grow from there. I think like a big turning point for me is like when I started working online, I absolutely hated my voice. I never wanted to be on videos. Like it was so uncomfortable. I never thought I'd be doing this with my life. And so, but the thing was, I knew the lifestyle that I wanted to lead and that I wasn't willing to let that fear get in the way. And so I actually created this challenge for myself. And I literally remember like the first time I went live and I was sitting in my car outside my condo at the time, like terrified. I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then I was just like, oh, okay, it's over. Like, oh my gosh. And then what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to create a challenge for myself where I'm going to go live for 26 days straight. And I basically said like every letter of the alphabet, I'm going to do like something I'm grateful for. And it's going to force me to go live every day. And so then through doing that, by like day 12, I was like, oh, this is okay. Like, this is actually kind of fun. It's not bad. And so really kind of creating a creative way that I could overcome that fear has been really helpful for me, for sure. And I think just for anyone like starting out, I think also kind of what I have shared previously too, a little bit, it's like, if you have these beliefs that are holding you back, like look too at, times where in your life you were scared of something, or where you didn't know if something would work, or where you had a fear of whatever your fear is, and you did it and it was fine, right? Like and from there you can again start to build that evidence for yourself that you really can do it, and that it is possible. And a lot of times too, like if you have a really strong, I mean, we talked about vision before, but if you have a really strong why, like if you have kids, let's say, and this is really what's going to allow you to give them that life that you really want to them to have, that a lot of times is strong enough to push you past any like limiting belief or anything getting in your way. And so you can really find that, maybe your parents, maybe you really want to retire them. Like if you can find a reason that is going to pull you past any of those beliefs that come up, that's going to be really, really powerful.
Yeah. And I love what you said in the beginning that, you still struggle, you still have insecurities, you still don't know what you're doing sometimes. And I think it's that like having grace and compassion and really letting go of perfectionism, because, we might think like, oh, if someone were to do a challenge, they're like, oh, I missed day 5, scrap everything, throw
Mhm.
it all away.
Totally.
And I think it's just, yeah, you got to where you are by just showing up consistently and doing it scared. And it's not like you were never scared and and
Right.
everything was smooth. So yeah, I just wish for a time where people who are successful really kind of got down and dirty and really shared like those times where they were insecure and where they were struggling, because that's really great to know for people, because I think people tend to
Totally.
compare kind of like, I don't know, let's say with weight or with looks to these super glossy magazines,
Mhm.
and then create these unrealistic expectations. And kind of like you said, you don't have to go from 0 to 350.
Right.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I think just to like add on that part too is like I remember I even used to think that I was like, oh, when I get to this place, I won't have any doubts. I won't have, and it's because people don't talk about it and people act like they have it all together. But I will tell you that is not the case for I'd say 99.9% of those people
Yeah.
behind the screens, right? We're all human and we're all going through this growth and evolution. And it's just you're dealing with different limiting beliefs, different challenges, or even the same beliefs, but just at a different level of your growth. And so yeah, just as humans, we all struggle with these things. And I think that piece has been really empowering for me to really apply to my own life.
Yeah, that was in my journey. That was really detrimental. I used to play tennis in college, and for professional sports, I only watched like finals, semifinals of like Federer, Serena, and I never watched like a first round match of like 100 ranked player. And then a few years ago, for the first time, I went to the US Open, and we're watching these matches, and I'm like, this is not that different from how we play.
Mhm.
And it was
Yeah.
just like a complete mind blown, because I always put them on such a pedestal. Like there were these robots that never made a mistake. And it was so detrimental to my confidence, because I had believed there's just no way I could play that way. And I think we kind of block ourselves before even starting by idealizing and putting people who have been doing this for 20 years, on a pedestal,
Mhm.
and comparing our 0 to their 100. So, yeah. Awesome. So what still keeps you motivated? What pushes you forward today?
Yeah. So for me, I think this is a great question because I think it changes like throughout your journey, right? What is really going to motivate you? And I think for me now, it's really just, I mean, obviously there's the internally, right? I want my life to look a certain way and I value certain things and whatnot. So that's going to keep me motivated. But, it's really just knowing, like, I think right now for just the fact that so many people like don't know. So many people don't know that this type of life is possible. So many people don't know that, they don't have to settle, that they don't just that normal isn't actually where you want to be. That it's not actually the best, way you can live your life. And, I know for me, like growing up, I grew up in, like in a great neighborhood, but it was all just about like, okay, how can we excel in school? And then how can we do the thing that everyone else is doing or whatnot and follow these instructions and just, do everything a certain way. And so many even of these like alternative healing modalities and different things like are kind of looked at as like what and whatnot. And, from that, so many people I believe are missing out, right? Like I had no idea about a lot of these things until just like 6 years ago. And so I think that there's still so much that we can share with the world, that we can really give to people, that we can really educate people on, to just say, life doesn't have to be this way. Like if and another big one is, we've been told like you can't change, right? That was what I was always told. Like you can't change anyone. It's going to be like, just you are who you are. But I don't actually believe that to be true. And from my own journey, I see, yes, it takes a lot of commitment, and really holding on to that and doing the work, but you 100% can change. And you aren't that way. That's just how you've been conditioned to believe that that's who you are. And, there's just so many more empowered ways that we can look at things and to create our lives how we want to. And, on the inside, but also on the outside, right? Like you don't need to work a 9 to 5 if you don't want to. There's so many ways that you can, especially now in today's world, that you can create a life online and work for yourself and travel the world or whatever it is. And so, just really like that motivation is just consistently sharing with other people and just showing them that there is this way and that, you can create a life that you don't need a vacation from, that you love, that you don't have to settle for. Because, I'm so grateful for whoever I found, whoever showed me these ways or whoever talks about these different things that I'm unaware of, because I'm able to learn and change my life from that. So, just really motivated to keep sharing that with others so that more and more people can really see what is possible for them and really start to, live the lives that they know they deserve and to their fullest potential as well.
Yeah, amazing. Ditto. So what would you say, as humans, we love to belong and we love being part of the tribe and, keeping up with the Joneses, kind of like you said, neighborhood, what's everyone doing? Oh, I'm not going to meditate outside because they're going to think I'm some weirdo. So I think the biggest block to doing something against the grain, and you do have to, there's no way to avoid going against the grain unless you want to be like everybody else.
Mhm.
So how do you get past caring about what people think?
I mean, I think that's a tricky one, right? There really isn't an easy answer. Like, I think if somebody gives you an easy answer, I don't actually think that that's true, because there's so many, depending on so many of like different wounds that we have, different traumas we've had in our lives, different experiences, we're all going to care about what people think in a different way. And like you said, we all want to belong. Like that is literally what we are wired for. That's how we're like thousands of years ago, right? How we survived. We needed to belong, and even now still to a degree. And so I think that is a tricky one to really not care. And I don't necessarily know that it's ever that you don't care. I just think it's that you start to care about other things more.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to really like just see like, okay, well, is that person living the life that I'm living? Like, do they actually seem happy? Is that what I want for myself? And if the answer is no, then it's just like, okay, well, how can I find people that are living the life that I want so I can use them to inspire me, right? Or how can I choose what I want then if I don't want my life to end up like that person, and start really, there's always going to be people who don't like what you have to say, no matter what you say. Even if you do nothing, there's going to be people who don't like that you say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just ultimately really figuring out who it is that you care about, right? Do you care about this person who's going to tell you that you should never start a business because you're going to fail and it's a scam and blah, blah, blah? Or do you care about the person who's like, wow, you literally changed my life because you shared this on social media today and you showed me that there's another way, and those people. And I think choosing who you care about is a big piece. But I would say, like, as you just as you get, I know for myself on my own journey, as you own more and more who you are and what you do, you really do start to care less about what other people think, because you become more confident in yourself and what you have to give to the world. And I think that that's a really big piece. And I know from a lot of the people I mentor, that can be a really, really hard thing in the beginning. And so I think with that, it's just, finding ways that you can slowly, first like share what you want, what your dreams are with people that are going to be supportive of you, and kind of be selective in that. Like, we don't have to share this with everyone, especially if we, and then I think it's also looking like a lot of people, they're just telling you what they know. Like, they're just whatever they feel keeps them safe, or they want to keep you safe, your family. And a big thing I like to think about too is like, when I was growing up, like, we barely even had the internet. We had like the AOL modem and stuff when I was growing up. We didn't have any of this. So all of this is very new. And especially if you look at like, our parents, our grandparents, like, they didn't have any of this growing up. And so it's just really foreign to a lot of people that this is even possible. And so we kind of get to trailblaze this whole new way of life, which is really cool. But just keep that in mind if you're hearing a lot of things from family members or just people in general of like, well, yeah, I get it. Like, they didn't have this when they were growing up. So it makes sense. Like, okay, and now I get to show them that it actually is possible. And you kind of get to be that light for other people as well. And so I think those are, really some tools that are coming to mind and stuff when it comes to caring about what other people think, but also giving yourself grace, like, and know that it is totally human to care. And just really, as you go through your journey, you'll learn more tools to kind of really nurture yourself when it comes up and when you are really affected by it.
For sure. Yeah, I think again, kind of how you started with, you care about something else more than that. And at that point, like, if it's your children or if it's this vision, at that point you'll realize, I mean, there's no way for me to get there without compromising, some people's view of myself.
Right.
Because you value that more. You're like, okay. And I think at no point is it not painful. Like, there's just no way to avoid. I could tell you 100 times, oh, it doesn't matter what people think. But if you like somatically are terrified of people judging you, there's just no way to avoid that but to face it. I think you can like prepare yourself, and at one point you just got to rip the Band-Aid and, announce to the world, come out of the closet, whatever the closet is, and just share that with the world. But yeah, I think it's one of the most challenging things for people starting out, I believe, because I mean, it's just our nature to want to belong. So it's just finding something that you believe in more and then practicing. Kind of like you said, like with going live, the first day was terrifying, and then day 14 you're like, this is fun.
Totally. And something I like to remind myself too is like, there's literally billions of people in this world. And so it's like, some people might resonate with you today, and then other people might resonate with you a different day, and if you do like happen to trigger people, or I mean, again, that's their own stuff. But if you do happen to, let's say like you're worried about your friends and you're doing something different, like there's so many people out there that you get to start becoming friends with as you evolve into this side of you as well. And so like that's a really big piece too, is just recognizing as you keep evolving, like there's always people kind of at your who understand where you're at and who are going through something similar to that you can really relate to as well.
For sure. Okay, loaded question. Do you think anyone can do this?
So I do think that anyone can do this, can really create, their own life. I do think, though, that it requires certain qualities and certain skill sets with that I don't think certain people desire. So I ultimately think that it is a choice, and I think that we can all choose it. But I think like sometimes, people, I don't necessarily know that it's for everyone, right? Some people really like the 9-to-5 life. Some people really want that structure. I was just talking to some friends the other day that I met here, and they're like, oh yeah, we love having it. And so people want that. So I think it ultimately is a choice that you want to create something for yourself. And I think from there, it's really like, are you going to cultivate the drive, the grit, the ambition, your why, like all these things to make it happen. And if you're willing to do that, I do think for some people, the qualities are more natural than they are for others, or they were more cultivated growing up than they are for others. But I do think that it is something that we can all do, because, there's like this analogy to where like in one of my trainings, they talked about, it's like people say they can't do something, right? But then someone puts a gun to their head and it's like, okay, well, they can do it. Right. And so it's one of those things where if you're in a situation where this is the way that you need, like if you really need more money for your family, or you have to do like whatever it is, you're going to do it. And so it's just what is driving you at this moment. But I do think if you can find whatever it is that's really going to fuel you, and that will motivate you enough, that, yeah, I ultimately do believe that anyone can do it, but not everyone will do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's I love it. I had this thought, and it's just I got like right into the story, and it left me. Oh, I was yeah. So how do you deal with failure, and when things don't go their way? How do you stay up when, let's say, you launch a product or you share something on social media and nobody likes it? How do you keep going, and how do you like become your own hype girl that you don't let the ebbs and flow affect you as much? And especially in the beginning, because once you have a bigger audience, I mean, there's other devils, let's say, but especially in the beginning where it's really just crickets, and it might take like weeks or months to get some kind of response. So how would you, maybe from your journey or just in general, how do you not let that affect you, and how do you pump yourself up?
Yeah. So I think that there's definitely probably times on everyone's journey where like it does affect them in one way or another. But I do think, like, especially in the beginning too, I think it's ultimately just, it's that consistent recentering to who you're speaking to and making this about them and not about you. Right. And then trusting that, maybe right now nobody is watching, but that doesn't mean that, like, down the line people won't be. So start showing up, right, as if they are. And then your content, let's talk, like, if you're saying your Instagram feed, that stays there. So maybe people aren't liking it now, but if you're really putting the time into it and you're speaking to, the person whose lives that you think you can change or whatever it is, like, they're eventually going to come and they are going to see that. And so really just holding that bigger vision, I think, is so important with it. And also in regards to the failure piece, it's kind of knowing like everything is just testing. Like, it's just showing you what's working, what doesn't work. And, and trusting, okay, well, this doesn't work. Maybe I'm meant to find a different strategy, or I'm meant to do a different type of post, or, this is showing me this isn't my strong suit. And kind of looking at everything with like as if you're learning, like kind of with the beginner's eye, and just really as data. Like, instead of trying to take it and be emotional about it, just be like, okay, this is interesting data. Nobody seemed to like this post. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, maybe I'll try something else tomorrow, instead of making it about you. Because the thing is, I think what so many of us do is we make it about us, but everyone, and this is actually something I wanted to add to the last topic we were talking about, is people aren't that concerned about you. They might say something, but they're more caught up in their own lives, what they're doing, so people might comment and say something, but then you don't do what you like, you don't start your business or you go after your dreams because of that one thing that they said. And then they're not even going to remember it, right? They're focused on what they're not doing in their own lives and stuff. So I think like that's a big piece. And that's the same here, is like, you might have just posted at a bad time, or maybe like people weren't on Instagram that day, they were busy, or maybe, there could be a million and one reasons why you're not getting the engagement that you want, or why something didn't work the way you wanted it to. So just kind of looking at how you can tweak different things and shift it. And I think, in the beginning too, like, I kind of like to talk to the people I mentor who are just starting out and kind of almost like share them this perspective that it's actually kind of a great time for you, because since nobody is watching, like, make as many mistakes as you want. Like, you can, this is where you really get to test and see what works, what doesn't work, how things go, because no one's watching. So it's actually like a pretty freeing thing, because I know, especially starting out, there can be so much pressure in, how you create or how you start to show up, because you haven't fully found your groove yet. So I kind of like to remove that pressure and just be like, well, create for you, create just to see. And then that way you're kind of removing it from the metrics as well. And yeah, starting to really fine tune your craft and see. And I think that's ultimately the thing too, is like a lot of posts that people will talk about that, end up getting them the most sales don't necessarily get the most likes. And so it's just remembering that too, like, that it's not about the vanity metrics. It's about who are the people that you're serving. And, one day when someone sees this post, will this help them, with whatever they need? And just keep coming back to that, I think, is really, it can be hard, but I think it really is like the best thing that we can do for ourselves, because it really, it's so much more than just if a post get likes or not, right? Depending on what you do, I mean, no matter what you do, right, you're influencing other people and really helping change their lives in some way. And so if we can kind of keep connecting to that, I think a lot of the negative thoughts that we have and the things that we make big deals can kind of drop away as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. One of the most useful things my life coach helped me with, I came in with this, I failed, I was like, I had this whole story. I was super invested. I was like into all the details. I was like explaining like why I'm a failure and, and, like building out this whole drama. And then he asked me, so what does failure mean about you? And I started again, like blah, 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 this, that. And he was like, what if it means nothing about you? And my brain just like exploded and I was like, you could do that? That's an option. So yeah, and that just kind of quantum leap shift something for me. And since then I've always been, it's just such a great question to ask yourself, like, what does this mean about me? And if you start getting into a loop, it's probably just a story, and just try it on. Like, what if it means nothing about you? And that just creates so much freedom to experiment because it really isn't about you. And I think the people who can do that over and over and disconnect what happened from their identity, that's when you can, show up and be silly and be cringe or be whatever, because it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I love that. 100%.
And I love how he said like likes don't have to do anything with sales, especially in Shoshana's club. There's a few ladies with, I think, like 1,500 followers, and she's made $500,000 in the first 2 months of the year, 3 months, which is, and I was super inspired by an influencer, I don't know if I can even call her that, who had an audience of 10,000, but they weren't really engaging. So she invited everyone over to her new account and I think only 10%, so 1,000 people followed. She ran her whole business with 1,000 people. She like made an $80,000 launch. Had this like people obsessed with anything she released. And I think like the micro influencer, we just think, oh, I need to get 1 million followers. And that's kind of, super disempowering when there's people who are just killing it with small audiences. They just don't know how to position themselves and how to message.
Totally. And I think that's one of my favorite things that people talk about too, is like, we think if you have 1,000 followers, like, oh, that's so small. But imagine if you were in a room giving a speech to 1,000 people, like that's a lot of people, but online for whatever reason, we diminish it. But if we really appreciate like who's there and think about how big that is, it really is like, even if you have 150 followers, again, imagine giving a speech to 150 people, like that's still a decent sized room. And so, so just really start to think about it that way too. I think is a huge piece because the metrics don't mean anything. You could have a huge audience, but they're not engaged and they're not purchasing. And that happens to a fair amount of people too. Or you can have a really small audience, but you have a great relationship with them. They're eager to buy. So yeah, I feel like if we can detach, like I think a lot of what we're talking about is like detachment is the answer. If we can detach from all of these things and just show up how we want to in this world, and prioritize how we feel and what we want to give back, like we can really, like we can create a massive impact.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I could talk for hours, but we'll try to keep it under an hour. So one question, another buzzword that's super popular right now is manifestation. Thought.
Just throw it at me. So I think manifestation is really great. And I think that it's really powerful. And I think that, there's definitely a lot of times in my life where I'm like, oh, wow, I manifested that. And, that's really amazing that can happen. But I think one missing piece that a lot of people forget about manifestation is the action piece. And, with manifestation, we still need to take the aligned action that's going to get us there. We can't just, maybe sometimes, but typically we can't just say, I really want to create whatever in my life and then just assume it's going to get there. We actually have to work to take the actions to get there, but also take the action to align who we are with it, like to, align ourselves to the reality that has that thing, whatever that thing might be. And so I do think that while the idea of manifestation is absolutely awesome, I think that there is a lot within it that we can kind of have conscious choice over, or like, I don't want to say like power, but we kind of, there's a lot more that we can do to really work with our manifestations to help them come to life, versus just being passive and assuming if we want to manifest something and put it on a vision board, that it will happen. Like it definitely can set it in motion, but we then have to really show up for that manifestation too, and start to believe, to bring it back to that, right? That is a possibility for us as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you have to have the balance, because if all you do is just work and not really take the time to kind of visualize and write the list and imagine it, it might not go where you want it to go. But then also, if all you do is write lists and sit around, it's also not going to happen. Kind of combining that, let's say masculine, feminine, or that's a whole other topic. But yeah, because that was also kind of what rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, is that not a lot of people specify that part, that and I feel like that's kind of what it's like. Oh, I have to work.
Right, exactly.
And I do think that sometimes things just happen magically, but I think is what is it, the lucky expression, like that you're lucky when basically you show up and you work for it. So that's I look at perspective. And then fun, crazy story from your travels. What was something amazing that happened? Like a monkey stole your bag or something?
There's so many that I could share, but going on the animal themed ones, I'll say so when me and my husband were in Botswana a few years ago, we were staying at this like kind of elephant sanctuary where they had the elephants like walk around free. And so you basically, if you wanted to go anywhere, you had to get a ride on this specific path, because the elephants were there and you couldn't. Yeah, I mean, obviously they would like come at you or whatnot. Elephants actually are not very gentle animals, as we might believe here. But so they're very strict about it. They're like, you need to make sure you're in the car wherever you go, and you're specifically on this path, or else we can't guarantee your safety, is basically how they put it. And so we were leaving after we had stayed there a few nights, and we got in our car and we were leaving, and we happened to take a wrong turn it was literally like sand, the road. So we weren't on the main road yet. And so we took a wrong turn and our car got stuck. Oh, no. So we were stuck, literally like, we didn't know what we were supposed to do because we're stuck. We can't get our car to the stand. We don't even know if we should go out of the car because there's these elephants around, because we're still on the property. And so we're like freaking out. I tried to like put in different SIM cards and stuff to try to get service, to try to call and see what we could do, but we couldn't get in touch with anyone. Like my phone would not work where we were. And so we're just sitting in the car freaking out. We're like, what do we do? Do we go outside? Do we try to figure this out? And it's like 100 degrees, like outside, middle of nowhere. And so we finally decide, we're like, okay, well, we can't just stay in this car. Like no one is going to come, and we need to, figure this out. So we like get out of the car, and then we start like scouring around to see where the elephants are and to see if like they're looking at us, if we can maybe like dodge them or whatever. And so we just start running, like we're like, okay, let's do this. Maybe we'll be okay. And we ran to like the water filter, and we're like, we can hide behind the water filter and we do this. And then we're like, okay, there's a truck, like we can run and maybe the elephants won't get us, and then run to the truck. And this was like literally in the span of like 90 minutes. We were trying to think like, do we run? Do we not do this? We're all, and then we're like behind this truck, and we're like, okay, maybe now we see these elephants. We're like, they're over there underneath the tree. They're doing this. And there's one elephant over there, just trying to like suss what's happening. And then like out of nowhere, this police car with just like ends up happening to drive, and they were just going to the sanctuary to I don't even know what they were doing there. And so we end up kind of like screaming for the police to come and get us. And so it's funny, they ended up taking us. We like get in the back of the police car, whatnot, and then it took us back to the sanctuary for then where they could get us like someone to tow the car, and then they took us to tow the car and everything. But we literally were like, well, are we gonna die right now? Like, our elephant's gonna just stampede over us and whatnot.
Wow, that is an adventure.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
And piggybacking off that, what was a moment where you were like, wow, this is unreal, like this is my life,
oh yeah, go on.
Well, like standing on the Eiffel Tower at like 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, or
whatever. Yeah, totally. I think one of my biggest wow moments actually was at the Dolomites. So this mountain range in Italy, just like literally like we just showed up there. We had rented a car and we were driving and we just started seeing the views. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like it was just literally one of the most beautiful places that I've ever seen. I didn't even know places like that could exist. And and just like, wow, like we get to do this and we get to be here and spend this time. And it was just a really, really cool, my life moment. For
Wow.
sure.
Yeah. Do you ski?
Well, we actually went in the summer, but I do ski.
Oh,
But we went in the summer and it was just like, I don't know, every time I think of like an awe moment or a landscape or something, that is the place that comes to mind. Like, I just those mountains are absolutely stunning.
top 3 favorite countries
Oof.
that you
Okay.
traveled
That way.
to.
Yeah. This is a hard one because I feel like there's a lot of places that I absolutely love. But Brazil is definitely one of my favorites. It's been a little while since I've been there, but I've been there twice and I absolutely loved it. Thailand, love Thailand. Really, really special place. And then I don't know, how do I only pick one?
Okay, go 5 if
But
you want.
um, but I had to just pick a third, I would say Italy. We absolutely love Italy.
Wow, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. Just for experience, because we think like, oh, we'll just do it, when we're older or whenever, but it's such a different way if you get to experience it now when there's so many things you can do. And just that enough, I feel like is motivational, hearing that story of just being in Brazil, all these places that you can travel. And then girly stuff, if you could what's your next big purchase? Like what would you get excited to buy?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like what literally would come to mind that I would that would really be like, the real thing I'd want to buy would one day would just being able to buy like a private jet or plane so I could literally fly first class whenever I wanted to all around the world and just go anywhere instantly. That would be that would probably be like my next level buy because as we obviously just talked about, I absolutely love traveling. And that just sounds amazing to me.
Okay, you'll come back and rewatch it and be like, see?
Yeah, right here. I declared it. It's happening.
Amazing. Awesome. And is there just anything that you want to share? Some last message?
Yeah, I think just like based on this conversation, I just want to share, like, wherever you're at in your journey, or like if you're just getting started, just know that like you can really create anything that you want to in your life. Like just because you haven't created it yet doesn't mean that it's not possible, or because someone's further along than you doesn't mean that they'll always be further along with you than you. Like you truly have the agency and the freedom to create your life exactly how you want to. And in each moment, we have a choice. And we all have limiting stories. We all have limiting beliefs, reasons why we shouldn't get started, why we shouldn't do whatever it is. And we can decide to believe those beliefs, or we can choose to really rise into that next version of us, to not settle, to do the damn thing, to, just kind of take that belief head on and really just really show up for ourselves in whatever way that is for you. And so just no matter how you're feeling in life right now, or where you're at, if you feel stuck or like you should be feeling differently, or you could be happier, or whatever it is, like know that it's out there for you. Like there are people who have done it before. There are people who are willing to help you. And I really want to encourage you to show up for yourself. And so often we are the only thing stopping ourselves from the life that we want to lead. And we're the ones who on our deathbed are going to be looking back and being like, damn, I wish I did that thing, or I wish I didn't listen to what that person said, or I wish I didn't just believe, whatever I was told growing up. I wish I looked for something more. And this is your chance. Like you have your whole life ahead of you. So why not just see what happens, right? Why not just go in, just risk failing to then maybe succeed? Because if you're not really doing anything, if you you want to live a different life and you're not trying it, then you're failing just as is as well. So I really just want to, encourage anyone listening to this, regardless of where you're at, even if you haven't even gotten started, to just really figure out what you want in life and really find a way for you to make it happen, because it's 100% possible.
Yes. And the same note, kind of the flip side of the coin is, I don't think we ever know what's going to make us happy. Kind of like you said, you got all these things and you're like, oh, it's not making me feel the way I thought it was going to make me feel. So I think also putting too much pressure on our goals can deflate them.
Oh,
Once you get
100%.
there, you're like, and this was it. Like I spent 5 years of my life like stressing, not sleeping, and being so obsessed over this for it to be, meh, I mean, not that much different from what I had. So
Totally. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
just value, like really just valuing just your regular life, like even a 9 to 5 or just a regular life where you're healthy, you're alive, you breathe air, there's no war, like you have a fridge, you have food, and it's really not that different. Like, yes, of course, experiences are amazing and travel is amazing, but at the end, it's just that joy baseline, and which is available to everyone, like through breath work and through healing and through community of kind of being happy. And then all these extra steps, that's what it is. It's just extra, and it's kind of like cherry on top. But like when people seek those external goals, it's like a, I don't know, meringue. Like it can all just collapse if you don't have that stable base.
Totally.
Because even not that long ago, I met like extremely wealthy people in Palm Beach, Florida. Like they're set for life, and they were just the most, like they don't have the life that maybe like even in Thailand, people who live, on basically
100%.
almost have nothing, and they're just so incredibly happy. So it just once again proves that like happiness is within, and then anything that you can manifest externally is just great. Like I'll use
100%. Yeah, totally. And I definitely didn't mean to, if that's how it came off,
no,
to say
no,
that
no,
it was,
not at all, not at all. No, no,
yeah,
I think it's both. I think it's both. I
yeah.
think I love how you call it, and I wanted to. I've just been saying that's beautiful, like this whole podcast. So I was like, I'm not going to say that again.
No, but I completely agree with what you said. And I think it's like happiness is an internal job. Don't look for anything on the outside to make you happy. Just like you shared, right? You have to find it from within. And I think with that, just how you mentioned, like through people in Thailand, like through travel, that's really one of the best lessons that I've learned too. Like you see people living in what you would think are like the worst conditions, and things that in the US that we never experience, and yeah, and so many people here are way more unhappy than they are there, right? People find happiness in the day to day, in their life, in their community, in just the fact that they're alive. And so really just, yeah, there's everything really comes from within. And so prioritize that. Like if you want to feel a certain way, the external goals, those have nothing to do with how you feel. That's just if you want to create that in your life for other reasons. But internally, like, yeah, that's where you have to go first. And always coming back to that, because that's ultimately, yeah, you're you no matter where you're at in your life. So
Yeah. And what you said, like you have one life, why not try? And I think if you don't try, you'll be bitter, and it's also going to affect how you feel. So it goes both ways. But at the same time, I've just recently like had things happen that I've just wanted for such a long time, and they happened, and I was like, I mean, not that I'm not happy, I'm happy, but it's just it wasn't that whole like explosion of emotion that I thought.
for
And this,
sure.
like, I'm like, oh, I was fine. I was just fine before as well. So it's both. It's definitely both. And yeah, that's beautiful. And then, so you've already spoken a little bit about your offer, but how can people find you? How can people work with you?
Yeah, so Instagram would be the best place to find me. So I actually have 2 accounts now. I just recently created a second one. So Oh the Places Ash Goes is my main account, and then affiliate.with.ash is my second account. So I would say definitely head over to Instagram to just learn about the different offerings that I have as they vary. Check out all my free content, any freebies that I have as well. And I would love, yeah, after you listen to this, if you DM me as well, let me know what you got from, from this interview as well. And I'd love to connect.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm so glad we got to speak today, and this was inspirational for me, and I hope inspirational for the people watching. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, that is it for today.
Cool.